Okay. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're completely new here. Today is going to be a really raw and vulnerable video, but it's very important. If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Lorena. I'm a self-concept and manifestation coach, guide, and mentor. Usually my content revolves all around helping you change your state of being so you can create the reality that you desire. However, I also have a strong focus on emotional integration. I have a very holistic approach to manifestation and to changing your self-concept, shifting your identity. And today we're talking about a very emotional topic. Today we're talking about grief, loss, heartbreak. So it's going to be heavy stuff, but stuff that everybody has either dealt with or will deal with at some point in their lives. Everybody is going to experience loss, everybody's going to feel grief in some way, shape, or form, and everybody is going to have their heart hurt at some point. This video topic is born out of my personal experience, my very recent personal experience. And if you've been following along on my journey, if you follow me on social media channels, then you probably already know. But if you don't, if you only follow me on YouTube or you've never seen me at all, then this will be new. I will split this video up in two parts. One part will kind of be my personal update and my personal experience. And then the other part will be things I am learning from it. I'm very much still in a process. I do think you will also probably learn a lot from listening to my story and just my experience as a whole, and probably feel a bit more validated if you've ever struggled with loss or grief or heartbreak, and hopefully you'll feel more supported through listening to my story as well. So I would encourage you to stay from beginning till end, but if you do want to jump ahead and just get the tips that will come at the end, I'll put timestamps below so you can jump ahead if you don't want to listen to me talk about my personal stuff. The guidance at the end will be about dealing with grief, loss, and heartbreak in general. And then my personal story is quite specific. So if you can't fully relate to my personal scenario, then don't worry, you will probably relate to the general part. If you do end up liking this video, then please give it a little thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here, if you're not subscribed yet. And if you benefit from this, I would also love it if you shared it with somebody you feel could benefit from it too. So I'm going to start out with my personal little life update. I am currently in a very deep process of grief. 2 weeks ago, pretty much to the day to be exact, I had my worst nightmare come true, my worst fear come true, and my little baby angel, Otis, who is my dear cat, my son, my baby, my soulmate, my best friend, he passed away 2 weeks ago. And it all happened very suddenly, and it broke me, and it broke my heart. And I'm already crying. And I'm in a deep, deep grieving process, and I wanted to be open and honest about that. And I also wanted to share this with you because if you've been following me for a while, you might know that he was diagnosed with lymphoma about 1.5 years ago. He had been given 2 weeks to live, and through an absolute miracle, they did call him a miracle at the hospital, he went into a complete clinical remission. And I do have a video about that. I have a video about how I manifested my cat healing from cancer. I don't actually know if he now ended up dying from cancer or if it was something else. I didn't do an autopsy because I didn't feel like it mattered. But I wanted to mention this video for multiple reasons. Number one, lots of people commented on this video or messaged me privately because either their pets were ill and they were scared, or because they'd actually lost pets. And the reason I created that video back then was, number one, to give you reassurance that miracles are possible. He was supposed to die in 2021. and he made it 1.5 years longer. So things can shift, things can change, and miracles are possible. If you watch it, or if you have watched it, you'll know this isn't a story of, oh, I just lived in the end and I just pretended everything was fine and then he recovered. This is a story of me really sitting with my emotions, with what at the time was anticipatory grief. You know, I was feeling grief at the time already, but it wasn't grief because I'd lost him, but because I had the fear or the prospect of losing him. And I wanted to keep it real, that a manifestation process is not about bypassing, but about really being with what is and keeping the faith, keeping trust. And I will speak about that in an actual grieving process a little bit later in the video. It's a powerful video. If you haven't seen it, do watch it. It's still relevant even though he's now passed away. I feel like with this manifestation back then, I was able to delay his death, or we were able to delay his death, but we weren't able to prevent it. And that's obviously something that is just a given. We are all going to die. We are all going to lose people. I know this is quite a morbid topic, but it's just the reality of things. We aren't immortal, at least not in the physical sense, right? These bodies, our identities are not immortal. If you've lost somebody and you're on a manifestation journey and you've lost somebody, or you fear that you might lose somebody, yes, you can integrate these emotions, and yes, you can keep the faith, you can keep the trust, and yes, miracles are possible, and yes, do not give up. But if you have lost somebody, it's not your fault and you haven't failed. And personally, and this is my personal belief, I don't think we control death at all. I think we can maybe delay it. I think we can change our attitude to it. I don't think we're that powerful that we get to choose who dies when and how. So I will also give a little bit of a disclaimer here, because I'm putting myself out here as well. I'm making myself vulnerable. I'm in a very raw process. Otis was honestly the love of my life, and I'm heartbroken. And if I get any comments that are dishonorable to his life or that are insulting to me, you will be blocked from my channel. I am just putting that out there. I've always received mostly very nice comments, but sometimes people do project their own insecurities onto me, and usually I just let that slide. But this is not about me. This is about Otis, so I'm not going to let it slide. So if you want to comment something like this, just know that you will be blocked. So now I'm going to give you a bit of just background as to what actually happened. So he got ill very, very suddenly, and he actually passed away within a time span of just a few days. From one day to the next, he lost his appetite, he stopped eating, and he was breathing really rapidly. So I knew something was going on, and I took him to the vet, and they found fluid in his lungs. So they put him on medication, and I actually took him back home after a day, and we had an appointment at the hospital. However, he didn't make it until then. He was stable all weekend. I even took him to the vet on the Monday to double check, and he was stable. And then in the middle of the night, I woke up at 1:30 a.m. because I heard a weird noise, and I woke up to Otis struggling to breathe. So I immediately jumped out of bed and took him to the vet, and they put him on oxygen whilst I was waiting. And the desperation brought me to my knees, and I got so angry, and it felt so unfair. And then shortly after, I got called into the room, and it was awful. It was awful. Otis was laying on the table, and he was clearly struggling to breathe. And the vet, I will never forget these words, the vet said to me, "He's not responding to the oxygen. Do you see how his pupils are dilated?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "He is dying." And I honestly just told them to not let him suffer. And I obviously wasn't as calm as I am now. And I held Otis and I spoke to him, and I was just there for him in his last moments. And I fell apart. I had never felt grief like this before. I've lost people before, gone through heartbreak. I've lost people physically, people around me have died. This was another level because this was the biggest love that I had in my life. And this was the one being I was around 24/7. People who have animals or who had animals might understand, although no grief is the same. Nobody will ever know what exactly that grief felt like for me. But just know that he wasn't just a cat for me. He was honestly a soul that was beyond anything for me, the most important being in my life. Everything else could have fallen apart except him, and I would have been okay with it. But that was my worst fear coming true. Now I want to say a few things about grief and loss in general. And obviously we can say grief and loss that can apply to anything. That can apply to a relationship ending, the heartbreak of a breakup, that can apply to death. There's different levels, there's different types, and it feels different for everybody. The first thing that I want to just say is it's okay if it feels unfair. I feel like in a spiritual journey, we're very often looking for the silver lining in something. I very often see this in clients who are on a manifestation and self-concept journey and who have maybe gone through some obstacles, some challenges, and they look back and they are like, okay, this was awful, but in retrospect, I can see why it needed to happen for me to get here. And this may be true. And this may be true with grief and loss as well. I am sure that once I am more integrated with this grieving process, that I will have transformed things, I will have learned things, but that doesn't change. It's still so unfair. And it doesn't change that it's still so painful and that it didn't need to happen. Personally, I do not believe we need to learn through pain. Pain can be a great teacher, loss and grief can be a great teacher, but we can also learn through joy and through love. And we don't need to create this euphemism around difficult, challenging situations and emotions. We can also just acknowledge that it just sucks. And we don't have to find the gratitude in all of the things. That's the first thing. The second thing is, of course, you're going to lose your faith, you're going to lose your trust when the worst case scenario happens. And that's what happened to me. And I'm still very much working on rebuilding that. It's very fresh, right? I am struggling to trust. I am struggling to keep the faith right now. And I think that's normal and that's valid. And on a deeper level, I do trust, because I think this is so embodied in me that I always have some sort of trust. I don't give up. It's who I am. It's what I've learned to do. But I also allow myself to just acknowledge that it sucks and that not everything has to make sense. Not everything has to be a lesson. Not everything has to be something you need to find a silver lining in. You can acknowledge that some things are just unfair and they just suck. And it's part of the duality that we live in. We live in a world of duality and polarity. And I do believe it's a perfectly harmonious universe where when something really bad happens, something really good will happen as well, and the other way around. It's perfectly balanced in my opinion, but that doesn't take away from things just being awful sometimes, and it's okay to acknowledge that. Grief, loss, and heartbreak are very much universal human experiences. Everybody has either experienced them or will experience them. I think it's important that we start honoring that and that we don't make it wrong, because especially in a manifestation process, which I know many of you who regularly watch my videos are in, there tends to be this emphasis on creating a perfect life in the community. The manifestation process is not about perfection, but still people strive for it. There is this ideal that people strive for. I would never want to feel fear again. I never want to be sad again. And it's just not going to happen. That doesn't mean your life won't improve. If you're currently in something that is difficult, life is definitely so awesome and so beautiful, and you can absolutely create so many things that you so deeply desire. But that doesn't mean you'll never be sad again, or you'll never have fear again, or you'll just end up at this place of bliss and every day is perfect. It just won't be like that. And a lot of the examples that you see around manifestation and in the manifestation community are frankly just unrealistic. And just like people share on social media the good things about their life, that's what you get to hear from most coaches as well. Like, even I don't share. Right now I'm being very, very vulnerable, and I tend to do that in general. I was sharing when I was going through my heartbreak last year, a relationship ending, but I also don't share every struggle that I have in my life. I also share the possibilities because I want to show you what's possible. I want to show you the beautiful things I've created to inspire you and to motivate you so you don't give up. But that doesn't mean life is ever going to be perfect, and loss, grief, and heartbreak are pretty much a part of life. Everyone will experience it, and if you haven't yet, you definitely will. And I'm sorry to say it, I wish it wasn't like that, but nothing is permanent. We will all be confronted with loss and with death and with endings. And instead of avoiding that, we need to learn how to navigate it. So if you are going through grief, loss, or heartbreak, even those of you who are maybe going through a relationship ending, or a breakup, or a friendship ending, or the loss of a job, or a divorce, or something that's not a literal death, the most important thing is that you allow yourself to feel it. Allow yourself to fully be in your grief. One of the things that I support my clients with the most is the emotional aspects of this work, because what I see people do is they try to jump from whatever pain they're in to wherever they want to be too quickly, and they actually haven't processed all of these emotions that are still there. They haven't processed all of the experiences and all of these memories that are still there. They haven't fully felt it all, and they haven't fully integrated it all. And the issue with that is that there will then always be a part of you that isn't fully aligned with the new reality unless you tend to that part first. So if you are going through grief, for example, and you are pretending everything is okay when it's clearly not, you're just going to feel fake. You're just going to feel inauthentic within yourself, and you're actually making things harder for yourself and delaying things even more because you're not tending to what you're truly feeling. You can't force yourself to believe something that you don't, or to feel something that you don't. Yes, you can practice a state, you can practice an emotion, but a big part of that is integration first, is feeling what's present first, is really being with that first, is knowing how to navigate that first. So allow yourself to be in it. Learn how to transmute the emotions, get the support that you need if you need support. It's honestly the primary part where I see the transformation happen with my clients in my coaching program, Recreate Yourself, where we alchemize the emotions and where they learn how to navigate them, they learn how to process them, and they get the space held by me and by the community around them. It's so important that you allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and to be where you are before you try to move on. And even the idea of moving on is kind of backwards, because here's the thing: with heartbreak or with grief, you're not going to overcome it, you're going to integrate it, part of you and your story. Last year I went through this big relationship ending. It shattered me, it broke my heart. I loved this person very much, but I also knew it was just right to leave this behind. It was what I needed. So I made that hard decision to leave that relationship behind and to move on. I'm now going through new heartbreak, but that heartbreak that I had, I did actually heal from that, and I did transform through that, and life was honestly better than ever after I had done that. But that doesn't mean I don't still carry, and I won't always carry, this heartbreak with me, right? There will always be a part that remembers what that pain felt like, that remembers that ending, and that doesn't need to lead to suffering, and it doesn't need to be even a negative thing. It can be something that I'm actually cherishing, because the heartbreak I experienced was just symbolic for the love I felt. The grief I'm feeling, the pain I'm feeling is so deep, is so intense because I loved really hard. So going through heartbreak is actually an opportunity for your heart to open. Your heart breaking doesn't mean that you're broken. Your heart breaking just means more love can come in, more love can come out. It just means you were brave enough to open your heart so that it even had the possibility to get some cracks. And then the next thing is to get support. Allow yourself to receive help. Allow yourself to be held in where you need to be held. Allow yourself to receive the love that you deserve, the care, the support that you deserve. This whole journey for me has been a huge practice in receiving and in asking for help, because I can't do it on my own. I cannot do it on my own, and especially with my work, I am holding a lot of emotional space for people. I need to be held as well, because otherwise I can't hold space for people. So the first thing I really did was I got support. I have beautiful relationships in my life. I am so grateful for the community I've created. Life wasn't always like this, and now the friendships I have are beyond anything I could have ever imagined. It's so beautiful and I feel so loved. And I ask them for support constantly. They've made me food. They've just sat with me. They've helped me clean my flat. So I asked all my friends for support. Yes, hold me. Yes, I want to receive. And a lot of people have barriers to receiving, which is often related to unworthiness, but obviously that's a way bigger topic. And I also hired professional support. I joined a support group for dealing with grief and loss. I hired a therapist. I hired a mentor. I deeply believe in investing in yourself anyway. I feel like a lot of people tend to spend money on things that they don't really need, maybe parties or going out or just stuff. And I honestly have seen so much transformation in my life from investing in coaching, investing in mentorship, investing in trainings. And I am so grateful to myself for the first action step I took was looking for somebody who could help me process this grief and process this pain. Don't be shy to reach out for help. You need the help. You deserve the help if you're going through a grieving process. And if you know somebody who is going through a process, be there for them. Be there for them, help them, hold them, because they most likely need it. And honestly, it's only been 2 weeks. And of course, I'm very much deep in the process still. And I reckon I will be for a while, because it was such deep pain, such a deep part of my life. However, considering that it's only been 2 weeks, I'm so impressed with myself for how I've navigated this. I'm really proud of myself, because obviously it comes in waves. And for example, this morning I just had a meltdown out of nowhere because I missed him so much. But I've had pretty good days and I've been able to feel the joy. And not only that, I've also been able to not just feel the bad stuff and to remember the end, but to actually deeply feel the love and the gratitude for the times we had together. And I can even really deeply feel his energy just on a more spiritual level. I can feel it so deeply. I feel so connected to him, although there is no way I actually am connected to him physically, right? Like spiritually, yes. That's eternal. But sometimes we can't feel that, and I can deeply, deeply feel it. I don't think this would have happened this quickly, that I am able to feel his energy, that I am able to feel the love just as much as the grief, just as much as the pain, if I hadn't asked for support, if I hadn't allowed myself to feel it and to be helped, because the process just takes a lot longer when you're doing it on your own. And then the last point I want to make, or I want to reiterate, because I did touch on this a little bit, is just love. You know, your grief is a reflection of the love that you feel. The heartbreak is a reflection of the love that you feel. Not everybody can feel so deeply, and it's actually a gift. Sometimes it might feel like, oh, I wish I wasn't feeling that deeply, because then I wouldn't be feeling this pain. A lot of the clients that I call in tend to be people who are very loving, have a lot of empathy, have a very open heart, and really want to give and receive love so badly. And the downside of that is that you will probably feel the pain and the heartbreak more severely than people who don't open their hearts. But despite the fact that that might sometimes feel like, I wish it wasn't like this, it's a gift. it's a gift to feel so deeply, because it's what life is all about. Life is all about this duality. Life is all about the experience of feeling the depth of the joy and the depth of the sadness just as much. There's a very famous Carl Jung quote that I really love, and that's, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." You need to be able to go to the depths of your darkness in order to reach the heights of your light. They always coexist and they need to be integrated. So I know that in time, all of the pain that I'm feeling will actually just be transmuted into the gratitude and the love, because that's what I mean when I say the heartbreak will stay with you, but it will transmute into something else if you know how to process it, and if you allow yourself that space, and if you get the support that you need. And one day I will just look back at this and it will still hurt. I will still miss him, but I will be able to just feel the love and the gratitude and the good times we had together. And I'm already able to feel that a little bit, but I'm still very much in the process. So it will take time, and that's okay. In the context of a heartbreak that's maybe related to a relationship breakup, it's the same, right? In time, you will be able to just learn from your mistakes, take responsibility and accountability for your actions, for where you didn't set boundaries, for what has happened, for what you want in a partner, what you don't want in a partner, and you'll be able to create something new and to design a new relationship and step into a new future. And when it comes to the loss of a loved one, in time, you'll be able to see hope again. You'll be able to trust again. You'll be able to have faith again. You'll be able to be excited for the future again. It doesn't make the loss go away. There will always be a piece that's missing. It doesn't mean that the heartbreak wasn't valid, but you will be okay and things will be joyful again. And for me, who knows, probably at some point, maybe not even in the far future, I'll be able to adopt another animal and give another little kitty cat a loving home whenever I'm ready. Just a reminder that if you've lost somebody, if you've had to end a relationship, or if know that you might be apart in time and space. Yes, you might not be physically with them, but the connection, the love that you have for them, that you have for each other, nobody can ever take that away. That will last forever because you carry it in your heart, and your grief shows that. I hope you were able to get something from this video. Do leave me a comment below and let me know what you're taking away from this video, what you're learning from this. And if you are looking for support through healing, through transformation, through changing your self-concept, or if you're looking for support on your manifestation journey, then I would be very happy to provide that support for you. I have a coaching program called Recreate Yourself, and you can find information for that in the description box below. You don't have to do it alone, and I am so here for you to hold you. I wish you a beautiful day. It's possible to heal, and it's possible to feel more joy than you've ever felt. And I'm sending you so much love. I'll see you in the next video.